Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're here to sift through that pile of sources you've got, all the articles, the fan theories, the spoilers, and really pull out the core insights. And today, wow, we are diving headfirst into the, let's say, ethically complex world of Port Charles, specifically General Hospital.
That's right.
Our main focus, Rick Lansing. His recent, pretty traumatic captivity and, well, his failed escape attempt. It really blew the lid off a lot of character dynamics.
Oh, definitely. And we've got some great material to work with here. Fan forums, some really sharp analyses, plot spoilers. Looks like Soap Dirt is a key source here.
Exactly. So this isn't just going to be a, what happened next. We're digging into the grudges, the history, the trauma.
And the justice, or maybe the lack thereof, in Port Charles.
Right. Our goal for you, listening in, is to piece together how this escape went down, why Rick's attack on Alexis was so devastatingly specific, and honestly, map out who in town hates Rick enough to just leave him tied up, and why this whole thing feels like some serious karmic payback decades in the making.
It really does, because the central conflict is juicy. You've got Rick Lansing held captive by 3 women with motive. Ava Jerome, Christina Corinthos, Alexis Davis.
A powerful trio.
Very. But, and this is the kicker, they seem to have seriously underestimated him. They thought they had him under control.
Big mistake when dealing with Rick Lansing.
Yeah.
He's not exactly the passive type, is he?
Not even close. The moment they let their guard down, assumed he was neutralized. Well, that's when he started working his angle, proving them very, very wrong.
Okay, let's set the scene. Rick Lansing, Alexis Davis's basement. Our sources call it dank, not exactly the Ritz.
No, definitely not 5-star accommodations. He's taped to a gurney, duct tape. Seems almost, I don't know, low-tech for Port Charles villainy sometimes, but the intent is clearly serious.
So the initial setup, how did they think they had him secured?
Well, Ava Jerome played a key role there. She's got that criminal flair, doesn't she?
She does.
She gave him what she thought was a knockout dose of a sleeping pill, believed he was completely out of it, sedated.
So she felt safe leaving Alexis alone with him down there.
Apparently so. She thought, he's drugged, he's taped, situation contained. Alexis was upstairs, totally wrapped up in work.
Right, the sources mentioned she was dealing with Monica Quartermain's will reading, like legitimate legal stuff.
Exactly. So she wasn't constantly checking the basement cam, if there even is one. She just mentally filed Rick away as problem solved, under control.
A fatal assumption in soaps. So what was their critical mistake? Relying on the pills, the tape.
I think it was really the combination, but mostly overestimating the drugs. They assumed the chemical restraint would keep him docile long enough for the physical restraint, the tape, to be foolproof.
And Rick, being Rick, he wasn't just lying there counting ceiling tiles, was he?
Not a chance. The spoilers suggest he wasn't even swallowing those pills, maybe palming them, spitting them out later.
Clever. Deceptive.
Absolutely. He was playing possum, conserving energy, staying alert, and all the while just slowly, methodically working on those duct tape restraints.
Ugh, I can almost feel that. The slow burn, testing the adhesive, minute by minute.
Right. It must have taken ages. Patience, desperation. Rick has those in spades when he's cornered.
We always see duct tape as this infallible thing in movies, but yeah, give it enough time.
Exactly. Time and motivation.
Yeah.
He finds his moment right after Ava leaves. That's the key. Security is at its lowest.
And he breaks free, just like that.
Just enough. Loosens the tape enough to slip out. And in seconds, he transforms. He goes from helpless captive back to predator.
The tension just spikes there. He's out of the basement, off the gurney.
And he's got the element of surprise. He knows Alexis is upstairs, alone.
And he knows exactly how to make that surprise count in the worst possible way.
Yeah, this is where it gets really dark and taps into some deep GH history. Rick makes his way upstairs, finds Alexis on the sofa, maybe relaxing, maybe just trying to decompress.
And then the attack. It's sudden, brutal, knife to her throat, just horrific.
It is. And the analysis we're seeing makes it clear this isn't just a random act of violence from an escaping captive. It's precision-targeted psychological warfare.
Because of her history.
Exactly. It's designed, consciously or not, to inflict maximum trauma. It triggers what some sources are calling a trauma triad for Alexis, multiple layers of past horror converging in one moment.
Okay, let's break that down. The trauma triad. What's the first most recent layer this echoes?
Julian Jerome, her dead ex-husband. Fans will remember that chilling, terrifying moment when Julian, completely off the rails, held a knife to her throat.
God, yes. That was intense. Someone she loved turning on her like that.
Right, so Rick is doing the exact same thing. It instantly rips open that wound. The fear, the betrayal, the memory of Julian's violence, it all comes flooding back. It's a sickeningly precise echo.
It goes even deeper than Julian, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The knife, the throat, that has roots way back in her childhood.
Way back. This is the second and probably the most foundational layer of the trauma. We're talking about Helena Cassidy.
Oh boy, Helena.
Alexis, as a little girl, witnessed Helena murder her mother, Kristen, and the weapon Helena used.
A dagger, right, specifically to the throat.
A dagger. To the throat. Witnessing your mother's murder like that? It's the kind of primal trauma that shapes your entire life.
So Rick, whether he knows the full history or just instinctually goes for the throat, is essentially replicating the single most defining, horrifying moment of her past.
Exactly. It's the specificity that's so brutal. A knife or dagger, the throat. It's appeared in these multiple catastrophic moments in her life. Julian, Helena, and now Rick. It hits her oldest, deepest wound.
Just devastating. And what's the third part of this triad?
It's Rick himself, the source of the current attack. He's family, he's Molly's father.
Right. Even with their history, there's maybe some baseline expectation that he wouldn't cross that line.
Exactly. There's often a sort of psychological barrier, even with the estranged family. This act just obliterates that. It shows Rick has absolutely no moral floor when he's desperate. He's willing to mimic the worst actions of Port Charles's most notorious villains, Julian, Helena, against the mother of his own child.
It's pure, calculated cruelty, even if he doesn't grasp every historical nuance. It just proves how badly they underestimated his capacity for violence when pushed.
A dangerous, dangerous miscalculation.
Okay, so we're at the peak of the crisis. Rick's got the knife. Alexis is frozen in terror, revisiting decades of trauma.
The whole plan is literally seconds from falling apart completely. Game over for the captors.
But this is Port Charles, just when things look bleakest.
Enter the cavalry. Or in this case, enter Ava Jerome.
Ah, Ava. The sources really emphasize her perfect timing here, don't they? She just happens to walk back in at that exact moment.
It might sound like a typical soap opera convenience, but the analysis suggests it's more about underscoring Ava's role in this whole dynamic. Alexis and Christina might bring the legal mind and the family connection.
But Ava brings the muscle, the ruthlessness.
Exactly. She brings the capability for swift, decisive, and frankly, probably violent action. The spoilers don't really question if she'll stop Rick, it's more how.
So how is Ava equipped to handle this? She's usually more about verbal threats or, wielding financial power.
True, but don't underestimate her fierce nature, as the sources put it. She's a survivor. She's not going to be easily intimidated by Rick in this state. The prediction is she steps in, quickly overpowers him.
Okay, but Rick has a knife. How does she manage that?
Well, here's a key detail the speculation brings up, and it feels very Ava. She's likely carrying a concealed weapon.
Like a gun.
Probably a gun, yeah. Tucked away in one of those expensive designer handbags she always carries.
Of course. The ultimate Port Charles accessory. Couture and concealed carry. Always ready for trouble, even on the way to the opera.
It speaks volumes, doesn't it? Life in that town requires constant vigilance. So Rick's knife, while terrifying for Alexis, isn't going to win against Ava's probable firepower and sheer nerve.
So the tables turn fast.
Very fast. A complete reversal of fortune. Ava intervenes. Alexis probably snaps out of the shock and helps. She is no shrinking violet herself when pushed. They subdue Rick.
And haul him back down to the basement.
Right back down to the dank basement, as the sources love to call it. Humiliatingly recaptured.
Okay, so round 2 of captivity. They can't make the same mistakes again. What do the sources predict for security measures this time?
Oh, they're doubling down. Literally. Double the duct tape, more layers, tighter restraints, and the ball gag comes back. Immediately. No discussion.
Wow. Okay. So physical restraint plus silencing plus humiliation.
It sends a clear message. His escape attempt, especially the attack on Alexis, just confirmed their resolve. It proved his depravity in their eyes.
The sources keep mentioning karmic retribution. This feels like part of that.
Definitely. His brief, violent freedom just dug his hole deeper. The fact that the punishment is more tape and a gag, not something final, suggests they're still focused on making him suffer, making him pay emotionally, while they figure out their end game.
So his time in the basement is far from over.
Not by a long shot. He owes a significant karmic debt, and they intend to collect.
All right, Rick's back downstairs, presumably more securely taped than ever. Now comes the really interesting hypothetical the sources explore. What if someone else finds him?
Right. Someone outside the kidnapping trio stumbles upon this little secret in Alexis's basement. The big question isn't just who, but what would they do? Would anyone in Port Charles actually help Rick Lansing?
And the consensus seems pretty grim, doesn't it? Basically, everyone hates him.
That's the gist. He's burned practically every bridge in town for very good reasons, as one analysis puts it. His list of enemies is long and distinguished.
So let's run through the rogues gallery. Who's the most likely person to stumble upon him, given the location? Maybe his half-brother, Sonny.
Sonny Corinthos is a strong possibility. He drops by Alexis's place sometimes, right? To see her, maybe see Christina. Plausible he might need something from the basement, or just wanders down.
And the relationship between Sonny and Rick,
Hmm.
strained, doesn't quite cover it, does it?
Not even remotely. It's pure distilled animosity, decades of it. Absolutely no love lost, is the phrase used.
So if Sonny opens the basement door and sees Rick taped to a gurney,
The prediction is blunt. Sonny laughs out loud, tells Alexis, hey, good job, maybe gives her a nod, and walks right back upstairs without a second thought.
seriously, just leave him there.
Zero hesitation. Neither brother would care if the other dropped dead tomorrow. Sonny would see Rick's predicament as entirely deserved, maybe even long overdue.
Why such intense hatred? Beyond just general rivalry.
Oh, it's specific. Rick spent years actively trying to destroy Sonny's life and family, back when he thought he was Mike Corbin's son. He manipulated Carly, Sonny's wife, repeatedly. He aimed to take over Sonny's territory, his life. For Sonny, Rick isn't just an annoying relative, he's a malignant force. Seeing him incapacitated, that's a win.
Okay, Sonny's a definite no-held. What about someone like Jason Morgan? He's often around the Corinthos sphere.
Jason's reaction is predicted to be even more minimal, just an eye roll.
An eye roll, that's it.
Pretty much. Jason's disdain for Rick isn't as white-hot personal as Sonny's. It's more professional. Rick represents chaos, unpredictability, a threat to the stability Jason enforces around Sonny and the family.
So finding Rick tied up is just Tuesday?
Kind of. He'd see it, register it, assess it as not a threat to Sonny, and just walk away. He wouldn't waste the energy helping Rick. Rick made his bed, now he can lie in it, taped to a gurney.
Okay, what about Michael? Sonny's son. He sometimes tries to be the more, morally upright one.
Sometimes. But Michael's got his own reasons to despise Rick, mostly tied to what Rick did to his mother, Carly.
Oh, right, the inherited animosity.
Exactly. Plus, Christina is his sister, one of the captors. If Michael found Rick, maybe visiting Christina, the sources suggest he might ask a few questions, out of politeness maybe. But call the PCPD, help Rick, no way.
Why not? What specific history fuels Michael's indifference?
It's mainly the Carly factor. We'll get into the panic room incident later, but Michael grew up knowing Rick terrorized his mother. He's fiercely protective of her, and he's seen Rick hurt other people he cares about, like Christina. So Michael would likely see this as rough justice, maybe even necessary to protect his family. He'd stay quiet.
Wow. Okay. Anyone else likely to wander into Alexis's basement? What about Nina Reeves?
Nina's an interesting possibility. She's Ava's best friend, so she might visit Ava there. Or she might visit Alexis directly.
Why would she visit Alexis?
Well, Alexis is a lawyer. Nina's deep in that custody battle over Willow, right? And Rick was Willow's lawyer initially. Maybe Nina's checking if Alexis or Molly have heard from Rick. It's a plausible excuse.
Okay, makes sense. And Nina's reaction, given she's Rick's ex-wife and friends with Ava?
Pure amusement. The sources predict she'd cackle.
Cackle.
Literally. Find the whole thing hilarious, maybe make a crack about it being some weird new kink of Rick's she never knew about. Oh yeah. But would she help him? Absolutely not. She'd leave him tied up, probably wish Ava good luck, and walk out smiling. Rick's humiliation would be satisfying for her.
It's really striking. Almost universal condemnation and indifference from anyone likely to find him. Nobody's inclined to play the hero for Rick Lansing.
We've gone through a list of people who'd basically laugh in Rick's face, but there's one discovery scenario that the sources highlight as the absolute peak of poetic justice, the ultimate karmic payoff.
Let me guess. Carly Corinthos Spencer.
Bingo. Carly finding Rick in that basement.
How might that happen? Why would Carly be at Alexis's? They're not exactly best friends.
True, more like frenemies. But right now, they have a shared problem. Both Carly and Alexis, along with Michael, are suspects in Drew Kane's shooting investigation.
Ah, right. So they might need to talk strategy, get their story straight.
Exactly. It provides a perfect reason for Carly to be in Alexis's house. And if she happens to, say, need the powder room and takes a wrong turn towards the basement.
The sources call this the ultimate irony. Why, what's the specific history that makes this moment so loaded?
We have to go back, way back to 2003. This is critical GH lore. Rick Lansing, in what the sources call his even more villainous era, did something truly monstrous to Carly.
Okay, lay it on us. What did he do?
He kidnapped her while she was pregnant, and he held her captive in a panic room for nearly a month.
A panic room. He locked a pregnant woman in a panic room for weeks.
Yes, a place designed for safety, twisted into a prison. It was psychological torture, isolation, confinement, all while she was pregnant and vulnerable.
My God, why? What was his motive?
It was chillingly calculated. He wanted to steal her baby, the baby everyone thought was Sonny's at the time. His plan was to take the baby and raise it with Elizabeth Weber, who he was involved with.
Steal her baby. That's beyond villainous. That's pure evil.
It was horrific, a sustained campaign of cruelty designed to break her spirit and rob her of her child. Carly endured weeks of terror. You don't forget something like that, ever.
Okay, so fast forward. Carly, the victim of that prolonged panic room torture, finds Rick, her former captor, now duct-taped and helpless in a basement.
The contrast is just perfect, isn't it? It's the definition of the tables being turned, cosmic justice served cold.
So Carly's reaction wouldn't be pity, or even indifference like the others. It would be
Pure, unadulterated satisfaction. The analysis is clear. Carly would love it. She would absolutely burst out laughing right in Rick's face.
no moral dilemma, just sheer vindication.
Absolutely, it's closure. Not just for Carly, but for viewers who remember how harrowing that 2003 story was.
Would she just laugh and leave, like Sonny? Or would Carly embellish the moment?
Oh, Carly wouldn't miss the chance to rub it in. The prediction is she laughs, maybe delivers a killer one-liner about irony, and then, this detail is brilliant, she might physically poke the ball game.
Poke the gag. Wow.
Yeah, there's a little physical punctuation mark to emphasize his complete helplessness, the total power shift, the utter humiliation. Then she'd walk out, leaving him there.
That poke, that says everything. It confirms that for the people Rick has truly wronged, seeing him, like, this isn't about law or morality. It's about deeply personal, long overdue payback.
Okay, so we've established pretty firmly that most of Port Charles would happily leave Rick to rot in that basement. But let's shift gears a bit. What are the actual risks here? For Rick and for his captors.
Right. Because Ava, Alexis, and Christina are committing a serious felony here. Kidnapping isn't exactly a parking ticket. So who represents the worst-case discovery scenario for them? And conversely, is there anyone at all who might be a best-case scenario for Rick?
Let's start with Rick's best hope, which frankly is a pretty slim one according to the sources. The bar is incredibly low.
Who is it?
Probably his daughter, Molly Lansing Davis. She's got ties to the captors. Alexis is her mother, Christina her sister. But Molly, for all her flaws, might be the only one in that immediate circle with enough of conscience or maybe just adherence to the law to actually let him go.
Molly. Okay, anyone else? Maybe Elizabeth Weber? Into history.
Elizabeth is mentioned as a long shot. They share history, yes, raising Cameron together for a while, but she rarely visits Alexis's house, so the odds of her stumbling upon him are tiny. If she did, she might help. She generally has a stronger moral compass than many in town, but it's unlikely.
So Molly is basically his only realistic hope among the friendly connections. Now, the worst case for the captors. Who finds him?
Law enforcement, official PCPD, we're talking Anna Devane, Dante Falconeri, maybe Harrison Chase.
How would they end up in Alexis's basement?
The ongoing investigation into Drew Kane's shooting provides the perfect pretext. Alexis is a suspect. They could get a search warrant for her house, and that warrant would likely cover the entire premises, including the basement.
Okay, this raises the really thorny question, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If actual cops, not monsters, not vengeful exes, but sworn officers find Rick Lansing bound and gagged, what happens? What's their duty versus what might actually happen in Port Charles?
This is where the analysis gets really cynical, but also maybe depressingly realistic for Port Charles. The prediction is that even if Anna, Dante, or Chase find him, they might just untie him, let him walk, and pretend they didn't see anything.
Pretend they didn't see a kidnapping victim. How is that justifiable?
The justification offered is simple. They hate Rick, too. And there's precedent for this kind of selective blindness from the PCPD.
Like what?
Like Michael Corinthus beating Drew Kane senseless. It happened openly, multiple witnesses, and the police essentially shrugged it off because Drew was seen as betraying the family, so he kind of deserved it in their eyes. The same logic could apply to Rick.
So the cops might see Rick, No, he's a lifelong menace who has hurt countless people,
Mhm.
including people they care about.
Exactly. Think about Dante. He's Sonny's son. He grew up in that world. Anna Devane has operated in gray areas her whole career, balancing the law with perceived justice. Even Chase, who's usually by the book, knows how things work in Port Charles, how powerful families operate.
So they might just decide arresting Alexis, Christina, and Ava figures connected to the powerful Corinthos and Jerome networks over Rick Lansing just isn't worth the trouble. Or maybe they even tacitly approve.
It's a disturbing thought, but yes. They might see it as vigilante justice, messy but earned. They untie Rick, tell him to get lost, and walk away, leaving the captors unpunished.
Which effectively sends the message that the Corinthos adjacent crew is above the law.
Completely. And it sets up the final problem. Rick can't just walk out and press charges, especially if the cops already look the other way.
Why not?
Blackmail. Leverage. The sources predict a massive cover-up. The captors or their powerful connections hold too many secrets. Rick himself probably has skeletons he doesn't want rattled.
So what's the predicted cover story? How do they explain Rick disappearing and then reappearing after being held hostage?
This is peak Port Charles logic. The prediction is Rick will be forced to claim the whole thing was consensual.
Consensual.
Like a BDSM encounter gone wrong. A weird, kinky thing that got out of hand. Maybe resulted in some accidental confinement or minor injuries he needs to explain away.
He has to pretend kidnapping was a sex game gone awry.
It's the perfect, messy, unverifiable, slightly embarrassing cover story. It lets everyone off the hook legally. Rick avoids further trouble by playing along due to blackmail. The captors avoid prison, the cops avoid paperwork and upsetting the power balance.
Justice, Port Charles style.
Yeah.
No real accountability, just a weird, uncomfortable resolution that maintains the status quo.
Exactly. The karmic debt is paid in the basement, not in the courtroom. Hashtag had a part room.
Wow. Okay, that was quite the journey through Rick Lansing's ordeal.
Mm-hmm.
From the dank basement and the failed escape
Mm-hmm.
to that incredibly layered, traumatic knife attack on Alexis,
Yeah.
fueled by decades of Cassidy and Jerome history.
Right.
And then the almost inevitable recapture, thanks to Ava's well-accessorized resourcefulness.
Can't forget the handbag gun.
Never. It all really underscores how deeply intertwined everyone's history is in Port Charles and how old grudges fuel everything.
Absolutely. The synthesis here is pretty stark, isn't it? Past actions in Port Charles don't just fade away. They actively shape the present. Rick's fate wasn't random. It was a direct consequence of his history.
And that web of secrets and blackmail seems to be the real currency, more powerful than the actual law.
That's the key takeaway, I think. The leverage everyone holds over everyone else prevents any real legal consequences, at least for now. It proves that loyalty, vengeance, and power connections consistently trump official justice in that town.
So the final thought we want to leave you with, listening in, revolves around that potential police response.
Yeah, that's the really troubling part.
If the PCPD, the actual police, find Rick tied up, a clear victim of a felony, and they choose to look the other way simply because, well, it's Rick, what does that signal?
Does it just cement the idea that people like the Corinthos clan and their associates operate entirely outside the legal system? Is that just accepted reality in Port Charles now?
Or does it represent something more fundamental? A line being crossed where even law enforcement prioritizes personal feelings or the path of least resistance over their actual duty? What happens to the concept of justice in a town when kidnapping can be ignored based on the victim's reputation?
That's the question to chew on. Where does Port Charles go from there? What does justice even mean anymore?
Something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.